Welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, the only show on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage. This is ET Now's special daily initiative to give MSMEs and entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center on every industry and area that matters to you. Tonight on the show, an influencer, a conversation with Zeta, and later on the show, a conversation on the early education market on Leader Focus tonight. The fintech space is heating up, and taking the bull by the horns is none other than Bengaluru-based Zeta. Set up just 2 years ago, this company offers meal vouchers, medical reimbursements, gift cards, gadget cards amongst others, and has a user base of nearly 1 lakh now, spread over 11 cities. I caught up with its co-founder and CTO, Ramki Gadipati, earlier. Take a listen to this interview. Ramki, thanks very much for speaking with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Let's start by talking about Zeta Technologies. Very briefly, run us through the model for our viewers.
So when we started Zeta, what we felt was that, okay, the digital payments are going to be the norm of the industry, as the basic norm that for all payments in the country, or that's the direction that the country will be going ahead in. This is way back in 2015, April 1st of 2015 is when we started. And we embarked on a journey assuming that digital is already the norm. Okay, so that is like we are not trying to solve a problem of making the payments digital, but what should happen once the payments are digital? What is the real value of digitizing payments? Is there a value within or value beyond digitization? And that's the thought process with which we have started Zeta. Zeta is supposed to deliver lot more value in digitizing payments with a digitized payment than just making the payment happen.
Now, how's the fact that you're primarily a technology company helped you to be able to have a partnership with service providers? Has that been an advantage for you or a challenge? And just walk us through really how having a technology platform primarily has worked for you.
That's certainly being a technology provider is the biggest advantage that we have. Like when we just look at our industry, especially the payment industry, okay, there are lots of industries that are dependent on payments. In fact, every business depends on payments. Okay, so if you just can actually enable those businesses function well by digitizing their payments or transactions and adding more value by doing so, by increasing efficiencies or by increasing even the top line in several cases. Okay, if we can deliver that, it's a massive advantage to all the businesses. Payments is a horizontal play, and the way you need to play, at least the way we have seen that the way we need to play that game is by being an enabler for everyone, and therefore technology is the most important thing that we relied upon.
Demonetization, of course, is the other big talking point. How has that worked? Would the move to digital payment solutions then have worked regardless of demonetization? Most people that we speak with, Ramki, say that the move would have happened regardless, but over a period of time. Do you think that perhaps we should have allowed the ecosystem to take the time it needed?
Absolutely, I agree with the view, but no one can actually quantify the extent of spur that demonetization has caused. It's a wake-up call, and I don't think some of the industries that have adopted digitization at the pace that they have adopted would have been possible without such a massive move from the government. Whether or not RBI has benefited or otherwise, I don't know about that aspect of it. It's the jury is out for that. But I think several industries have woken up and took the call and started digitizing so many things, not just monetary transactions, but it served as a huge wake-up call for digitizing so many of their practices, and I think it wouldn't have been so easily possible. The country wouldn't have accelerated this adoption the rate at which it has done in the last few months, if not for demonetization.
You also look at HR and HR staffing solutions. How can companies benefit by tie-ups with you? And also talk to us about small companies, how they can perhaps benefit by having a HR solution like the one you offer.
Yes, there is a lot of value Zeta adds to HR and HR professionals in general, irrespective of the size of the company. A lot of work related to HR from the time an employee joins a company till the time the employee leaves a company. There are so many touch points with the company that are completely paper driven, and There are so many such touch points which have monetary transactions. All of them can be fully digitized with Zeta. For example, we have one product we call as Zeta Optima, which is about digitizing entire payroll related tax benefits. So, you have your HRAs today. To claim a HRA benefit, you have a lot of paperwork that you need to give, evidences that you need to give that you indeed paid the rent. Similarly, if you are just talking about a medical allowance that the company has given, which is tax exempted under Income Tax Act, to claim that there is a lot of paperwork that is involved. And what we have done with Zeta is that, okay, given that we know when a user has transacted, okay, we are able to connect that information to the company's payroll systems, accounting systems, and thereby completely eliminate the need for paper in the entire process.
Are you able to customize these solutions and offerings, Ramki, depending of course on the industry, the location of the company, etc.? Just how much of customization is available? Talk to our viewers who might have that question.
Absolutely. I mean, when you just look at enterprise customers and ranging from startup to companies which employ as large as 2 lakh employees, okay, the requirements are quite varied, and you are also right that the requirements vary from industry to industry, not only by size of the company. So, it is never one size fits all. You just definitely have to deliver a solution that meets the expectations and the policies and frameworks of each corporate, and we have done a lot of work on that. Customization is actually one of the key elements for any enterprise software.
How are you tapping the growth of mobile in tier 2 and tier 3 towns, and what specific solutions do you think these areas need? Does a solution like yours work primarily in a tier 1 or a metro city? That's my question essentially.
Fortunately for us, when we just started, we know that we are very India focused, and we are, I mean, me being in India for all these years, I am very aware of how a Indian customer, the realities of the Indian customers, the non-availability of internet and not so much savviness in adoption of mobile technology and the vernacular languages that we have. All of these are pretty much given. I mean, is a day one understanding of our country and of our market. So, what we have done is that, okay, we build the solutions in a way that works without taking a lot of dependency on internet availability, without taking a dependency on a lot of high level of education of the individual who is using it. So, we have built a tremendous number of solutions which do not depend on a high technology adoption, at the same time which can give a good benefit if for a mobile user. Okay. So, we support that continuum, that is like a user can start with or without mobile phone, with or without education, with or without internet, and we are able to start from such kind of a user to all the way to someone who is very sophisticated and probably sees at his mobile screen probably 200 to 300 times a day. So, we are able to cater to all of them and are able to deliver a solution that encompasses all these employees of an organization. So, that's one of the key elements that we incorporated into our solutions. And to reiterate, our solutions work in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and anywhere, so there is no limitation in reach of our solution.
What's next on the radar for you, say in the next 2-3 years? What is sort of the consolidation and growth looking like in this space, Ramki?
Actually, I think the industry is just starting. Okay, so I'm not too sure that there is going to be a lot of consolidation already. There may be a lot of growth that we will be seeing, and several players will be growing. So, I don't see this as a time for consolidation as yet. And for us, I think the journey has just begun. We are just 2 years into the market, and actually 1 year into selling our products and services, and we have been able to cater to over 1,300 corporate customers so far. That's, I think, the kind of a largest growth in this sector so far, and we do intend to eye for bigger numbers in the next few years. So we are fully focused on growth, and I don't think we are looking at any such consolidation kind of exercises right now.
Ramki, thank you very much for speaking with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Time for a break. When we come back, we'll bring you a segment on the early education market here in India. On the other side, on Leader Focus, just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight we're focusing on early education on Leader Focus. I caught up with two experts from the early education space to talk about regulation, branding, as well as making a difference for startups in this space. Take a look. Thank you both very much for being with us here today to talk about what is happening in the education space with a particular focus on the preschool space here in India. We always love asking our entrepreneurs who come on our show to talk very briefly about what it is you do. So maybe I can start with you.
Well, Sunada, I just run a very small pre-primary, a small nursery school on Malawahera. It's been there for a very long time. I think the only reason you got me here is because it's been there for a very long time. Also, I've had some experience since the 1980s and 90s to work with NCRT, IAPE, that's Indian Association of Pre-Primary Education, and a lot with Balwadis and Anganwadis.
Sure. So, all right, can you talk about what it is you do?
We Super Kids are an early child development centers where 0 to 7 years is the minimum years where we inculcate knowledge into our child's brain, and it's a blooming days of children. So we help them to bloom over there with the preschool and post-school programs what we offer in our Super Kids brands.
Okay. So, and both of you are very different in the sense of, you know, the model that you follow. You were saying that you have one center, you have multiple centers across India. How has the preschool space in India been changing, and what would you say has really led to that spurt? Maybe we can look at a 5 to 10 year time frame and talk about how the market has been changing, and therefore how the needs and how you know, people are innovating in this space.
Going a little backwards, from 80s and 90s since I've been there was first the question was, is preschool essential? Today, everybody thinks preschool is very important. So therefore, there's a whole burgeoning of preschools everywhere. Every third building will have a little preschool. Kids would be going somewhere or the other. And the wonderful thing about trying to start a preschool is that there is no registration or major regulation existing.
Okay.
That is a plus point and a minus one.
I will come to that, but I want to talk to you about how many centers you have, whether it's tier 1, tier 2, where are your centers?
Presently we are located only in Mumbai, Navi Mumbai and Thane. We presently have 8 centers, but the way we have seen the history of preschool, only from metro city now preschool is going to T2, T3 cities also, and market is expanding. Still a niche market in India, but then lots of opportunity is there.
Okay, so let me come back to the point that you raised, and you were talking about regulation. India, as we speak, still looks at the field of education as primarily being social entrepreneurship, as being a social enterprise. Making a profit is not something which is encouraged or allowed in certain sections of the education industry, I understand. Is that keeping innovation away from the space? Is that discouraging maybe entrepreneurs from wanting to innovate and expand?
I don't think innovation has ever stopped. Even in the completely non-economic centers, also there has been plenty of innovation according to our space needs and environment. But the ease to start a preschool just needs a little bit of space. And that's what makes girls and women very encouraged to start something.
Sure, sure. What would you have to say? Do you think there's a strong case for regulation, particularly in the preschool area in India?
Not strong one, but yes, few regulations are needed, which will streamline the education system and which will help those children to go into schooling with the proper channel ahead.
Why do you say that not strong regulation? Regulation on the lines of perhaps what is happening in the field of, higher education, maybe that kind of a regulation.
See, in higher education, you might have seen different boards which have come up. They have their own structured syllabus, whereas here you are dealing with the children who does not understand those many rules and regulations. An age group of 1.5 or 2 years, they are still very low as far as knowledge sense is concerned. While inculcating knowledge into them, you require many methods to adopt. Some child may get easily educated, some may get it difficult. So when the regulations comes up, you have to follow the particular set of rules, which will not be possible with this age group.
Okay, I want to talk about how India compares with some of its global peers. If you look at international studies like PISA, and we talk about that quite often on our show, India has come second from the bottom. I know that is largely to do with higher education and not preschool, of course. But what's it going to take for the standard of Indian education to perhaps improve?
Well, universal primary education is what's going to solve it slowly. Pre-primary may not add that much to it, but it does make a great difference if a child has been to a pre-primary when he enters primary. Regarding regulation, I would like to add a word that regulation is mainly about space. Regulation is about number of teachers, training of teachers, number of kids, etc. Regarding innovation and teaching, there are very few teaching colleges for teacher training. So if you want quality education, you need more teacher training.
How is that going to be fixed? Is that something that you're seeing enough entrepreneurs looking at as business model?
I would say today there are a variety of teaching colleges, teacher training colleges, but there is no standardization out there. The quality of teachers will always depend on where they are going to learn from. And whenever my young teachers visit us in school sometimes, they come by just to see how it functions. We can function because we are small, happily enough to be able to translate theory into action, which is very tough for very young kids. We have got a certain mindset that schools are formal, schools are sit down, schools are closed in.
Since you have 8 centers, are you finding the kind of qualified staff that you require for your centers? If not, how's that going to change?
There are few hurdles that we are facing while getting the qualified staff, but then with proper teacher training programs, we can definitely overcome those type of hurdles very easily. A few efforts more need to be put by our center in charge, and with the training and proper auditings, we can overcome those things.
Okay. Do you think also that, you were talking about the fact that you're largely in Maharashtra, you are only in Maharashtra,
Yes.
rather. If entrepreneurs were to set up such preschools, which are organized, which are branded, there would be a market for it, given the fact that there is also cost involved, because right now the preschool market is very unorganized, is very small, is very fragmented.
Very true. If you see, there are only few brands which are running all over India. There are small individual schools are running in different localities also. Even if you see in Mumbai, every locality will have an individual standalone classes or standalone schools also. But if a brand is there with a structured curriculum running all across India, it will definitely help entrepreneurs to set up the schools very easily, because they don't have to put their brain in creating the curriculum, they just have to deliver that curriculum to the children.
Okay. Sure.
There are that many brands coming up like Euro Kids and Kangaroo Kids and a whole lot of them, and a lot of franchises happening. That is organized curricula, yes. But then again, there are lots of people who are willing and happy to start something small and be happy just to run it small. Then you don't need to be with one of the franchises. Franchises are good where you have larger aspects that you're considering. But if you talk about small entrepreneurs, it's a good idea to start a small preschool. And that's what is the need of the neighborhood mostly. Also, you want your children to be in smaller groups where you're looked after more.
Sure. I want to talk about, given the fact that this market is so fragmented, that you have so many small preschools, for an entrepreneur who's setting up in this space, how do you ensure, and I want both of you, I'd like for both of you to answer this question, how does an entrepreneur then create a USP or a niche for their own product?
A lot is word of mouth. If your child is well looked after and loved, you immediately start getting the neighborhood in. And if your aspirations are not too large in the beginning, I think you do well.
Okay.
As far as entrepreneurs setting up a new thing and getting innovation thing, it is better if they go through a brand, because whatever changes that is coming up in the market, brain has already developed those curriculum which they just need to deliver it. So they don't have to concentrate on two different things of creating and delivering. So it helps them, that it relaxes them, a mental pressure has been taken off.
So would you suggest tying up with an existing franchise?
Yes, I do.
Okay, okay, okay. Very quickly then, as we're winding down this conversation, if you can talk to us about what the market is looking like in terms of way forward for preschools. We can talk about costing, whether GST is likely to have any impact on this space.
The amazing thing is all the young people who go to teacher training colleges and come by, they all say we would like to start a school. I mean, that's big, that there is so much interest and desire to work with kids, provided there's a little space.
The way you had said, GST will have little impact because preschool has been taken an exempt bracket as far as GST is concerned. So fees are not charged with GST. Only to some extent of expenditures like materials or rents, they need to pay extra GST, which would earlier it was there in the form of VAT and service tax. So not a major difference will it make.
Sure. Thank you both very much for being with us here and talking to us on Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thank you.
Completely out of time on this episode of Leaders of Tomorrow. If you have anything that you want to tell us about the show or any questions for any of the experts who come on the show, email us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. Tweet at me at Sunanda_J or LOT_ET now is our official Twitter handle. You can also reach us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow and ET Now. That number you see on your screen is how you can reach us directly as well. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.